Thank you so much for keeping a date with us on the program. Well, today the major issue is the issue of erosion and flooding. It's not happening coincidentally. There's been a build-up in the last 10 years. That's about a decade or more. I mean, consistently, environmentally, scientists have been predicting all of these things that are manifesting now. They're not limited to Nigeria. In Asia, in Europe, in America, it's happening. The menace of climate change and global warming is taking its toll on us right now, every day, every week, every month. And of course, just yesterday, the warnings came again that those living in coastal areas should be prepared to get more bashing from erosion and from floods. I mean, particularly those in the banks of River Niger, they should just get ready because the River Niger is already overflowing its banks. You know what that means. You know what that means. I mean, I made a short trip to Sapele yesterday, just around the Ologbo area. You're driving on the road, you could literally see that the water has moved away from its natural course. It's flowing very close to the road. And if the predictions are anything to go by, I wouldn't be surprised if that river also overflows its banks and, you know, spills to the road. Well, my greatest concern is that in some areas where efforts were made in 2012 to provide some makeshift shelters just in case it rains, so people can move to and then stay there for a while, and then when the water recedes they can come back to their home. Many of those projects were either not awarded, or in some cases where they were awarded, they are not yet completed. So what becomes the fate of the people living in these coastal areas? I know that sometime last week the member representing Eastern, Northeast and Southeast, Sergius Ogun, was at Ilushi, and that was actually a few months back, and they did some on-the-spot assessment of that area, and the people were complaining that, you know, they don't know what's going to be their fate if the rains poured down heavily as expected. And true to point, the rains did come down, and many of them have been rendered homeless. All right, so we need to match words with action, both at the federal and at the state level, to deal with these climatic conditions, particularly against the background that in major streets, some streets in Benin, they've been completely submerged, and in some cases houses submerged. People don't have place to stay. I can remember one of the stories that we carried some few weeks back, a man, an elderly man, yeah, really advanced. The money sent to him by his children to take care of himself was completely washed up by the flood, and according to him, doesn't have any other thing, any other money on him. And then secondly, the only clothes I had were just the ones that he wore. I mean, I sometimes try to put myself in the shoes of those people, just imagining that you are home and all of a sudden, you know, your bed is floating on the water, your cooking pot is floating on the water. Here you are with your children, they're screaming, they're crying, and then it's just in a, you know, in a state of pandemonium. Yeah, because you will be confused as to what is the best action to take. You can't go out, you can't stay indoors, and there are no structures put in place for emergency rescue like we see in movies and we see even abroad. I mean, when there are emergency situations, you have boats, you have helicopters and other structures that have been put in place just to help to rescue people. We don't have such things. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, what are we doing about the emerging towns, communities and villages? What are we doing in terms of assuring that people stick to standards in their buildings and in their construction? What are we doing? You go to some of these new towns, new villages, new communities where people are moving into to build their houses and do all kinds of things. You see areas that ought to be plains where water will flow into naturally, they are blocked with buildings, with structures. And then tomorrow, when flood starts committing havoc in those areas, they call on government. So it's a collaborative thing. The government has a role to play, the people have a role to play, and particularly for those communities, for crying out loud, let's do something about building structures on waterways. Yeah, you will know, you will know that this is a natural course for water. And when you build on it, water will always find its levels. Yeah, it will always find its level. And the saddest thing is that so long as we're not putting any structure in place to checkmate this, in the next few years, many of these communities that have people moving in there to build their houses and stuff like that, they will also feel the brunt. They will feel the brunt. I mean, just imagine that those areas where you already have even structures like drainages, gutters, and stuff like that, they're overwhelmed right now. Yeah, they're overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed, because of the amount of water that pours down each time it rains. All right, so we just need to do something along those lines. I mean, people have been asking questions about some of the projects embarked upon some years back, just to ensure that we tackle flood and erosion in the city. What has become of those projects? To what extent are these projects actually tackling flood and erosion in the city? Big question, begging for answer. Okay, we get our discussion segments off the ground. I have with me already in the studio a legal practitioner, public affairs commentator, erudite sports analyst, and I like to thank very especially Barrister Daniel Ugbege. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, of course we know that right now, what is the front burner politically is the primaries for candidates to emerge for the various political parties in the build up to the 2019 election. But the question has always been, will these primaries be free, fair, credible, and transparent to cascade into having the same qualities and characteristics of the 2019 election itself? It has to start with the primaries, internal democracy in the political parties. The discussion has always been, should it be direct, should it be indirect? But one critical aspect of the discussion on party primaries is the role of the major stakeholders, the critical stakeholders, the leadership base of the political party, who, especially if it has to be through delegates, must decide the fate of those aspiring for one position or the other. So this morning on the show, we're examining party primaries, particularly looking at the roles that these critical stakeholders play to ensure the emergence of candidates. What is expected of them is that they bring forth a candidate that will have integrity, a candidate that will have several other qualities and characteristics to be able to go into the election battle. And then, of course, we also look at some of the issues that have emerged. You know, a lot of things we used to take for granted in the years gone by can't happen now. I mean, just look at the recent incident with the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, with the NYSC certificate scandal that eventually led to her resignation. In time past, that would just go under the carpet. And so these are a whole lot that party leaders should look into to ensure that the right candidate emerge. And this Saturday, of course, we're expecting to see the Osun State governorship election come on full throttle. Over the weekend, there was a debate. One of the candidates was conspicuously missing. Others were on the debate platform just to give an opportunity for the people of the state to sample the views and thoughts of those aspiring to lead them in the next 4 years. Pastor, we get many things again for coming.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to start with one of the statements that you made, that it was unprecedented for a minister or a public servant in Nigeria.
I didn't say it was unprecedented.
Okay, but the way you placed it,
what I meant was that in time past, yes,
it would have gone under the carpet.
Yes.
It's not true. We remember during Olusegun Obasanjo's first term, the Speaker of the House of Representatives at that time was Salisu Buhari. Salisu Buhari was discovered to have lied on oath about his age, that he was actually 29, but he said he said he was 30. He said he was 30 to enable him to get into the House of Representatives. Salisu Buhari resigned, apologized, he was prosecuted, and maybe the government later pardoned him, but he was prosecuted.
So a precedent was set with that.
Yes, he became a convict. So there was a precedent set. Even in the government of Olusegun Obasanjo, we were just coming from the military regimes, the various military regimes, Buhari, Babangida, Sani Abacha, and Abdul Salam. Then Olusegun Obasanjo was a retired general in his government. The number 4 citizen of Nigeria resigned at that time immediately. It's not for anybody. But Kemi Adeosun resigned after more than 2 months, almost 3 months, that she was accused of forging her NYSC discharge certificate. The NYSC itself was not here nor there, was complicit. Was not here nor there to come out and say, oh, how did this certificate come out? This person applied when she was so and so age. How did it come out? Many people have said a lot of things. I don't know if you want to start on this note so that we look at the Kemi Adeosun. But Kemi Adeosun resigned. We have been calling for our resignation. We have been calling for our prosecution. The government of the day has failed to do that. They have totally behaved as though nothing was happening. That it was normal. Then election is coming and she resigned. The next day, she fled the country. Is she going to be prosecuted? I'm not sure. But the AFCC has placed a watch on a serving governor whose tenure will expire in 1 month's time. There's a watch on him already for abuse of office. No, not abuse of office. The man where he has been governor has been abusing the president of Nigeria and exposing his shenanigans. So they are pressing him. He still has 1 month to go. He has immunity. But there's somebody who did not have immunity as a minister. Nothing has been said about her. Then she resigned and she has fled the country. They allowed her go. Nothing has been said about her.
What evidence do you have that she has fled the country?
I'm sure there are newspaper reports that she has traveled to the UK.
You relied on those reports.
It's a newspaper report.
Yes, you relied on those reports. The presidency has not issued a statement to that effect.
But they won't. They did not issue any statement.
You said they won't.
When she was accused.
You are being preemptive.
No, when she was accused.
Yes.
You know.
The president didn't issue a statement because the Minister of Information made a remark on that incident. And
that she resigned.
No, not that. That the NYSC released a statement on that one. And that what the NYSC released was just enough.
What did the NYSC say? It was not here nor there. They did not say that the certificate actually emanated from them.
Okay.
So if it emanated, because she wasn't supposed to get exemption at that time.
Okay.
She graduated way before she was 30 years. My brother, I did my youth service in Sokoto State. That was the first time I crossed. In fact, that was the first time I saw Kogi State, just close to Edoye. And it was the first time I saw Abuja, then Kaduna, then Zaria, then Funtua, then Zamfara, Talata Mafara, then to Sokoto. Do you know it's about 20-something hours, night and day? Because I love this country. I serve my country. But there's somebody who was in the UK, finished from the UK, she got a plum job in the UK, she came to Nigeria, she got a plum job in Nigeria, then she was headhunted by the Ogun State government, she got her to serve, she forged the certificate, or they forged the certificate for her, and she was a commissioner there, then she became a minister, and she was discovered to have forged the certificate. The first thing she should have done when she realized was to resign. The president was not in the country at the time. The acting president did not say anything about it. The president came, did not say anything about it. Few weeks to election, she resigning, and she has fled the country. No prosecution, no official statement, nothing. They said they wished her well for the future. You wish her well?
Okay.
Somebody, I can say she's a criminal because.
No, you can't say she's a criminal.
You know what I'm saying that?
Why would you say she's a criminal? That would be going.
You know what I'm saying
extreme.
that? I will tell you why, sir.
That would be going to
because
the
in my mind, I have already convicted her. Because the government that she served has failed to bring her to justice, to take her to court, to prosecute her. So in my mind, she's guilty in my mind. And nothing's going to change that.
But she's supposed to be presumed innocent.
She's presumed innocent.
Yeah, but in your mind, you have already convicted. Yes.
Sir,
yes.
Until the contrary is proved in a competent
Has the contrary been proved?
But they've not taken her there.
They've not taken her there?
No.
The contrary has not been proved.
I would have, as a private citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, prosecuted her. Okay, I have a right. I have to get a fiat from the Attorney General, and I will not be given a fiat.
Okay, let's pause it there.
Yes, sir.
Let's look at the other side to this issue. This is not her first office, and then even before she got this office as a minister, she may have gone through screening processes before she eventually got there.
Yes.
Why are we not factoring this semi-laxity at the levels of screening before she got there?
Exactly, that's what we're talking about. That's what we say.
Let's begin from Ogun State.
Yes, that's how we
start our job.
We should build institutions.
Okay.
Rather than building big men. If the institutions were working dispassionately, regardless of who is involved, if the institutions were competent, regardless of who is involved, she would not even go beyond the clearance from the Senate. In fact, it was in Ogun, she would have been discovered. But I even feel that the government of Ogun State was complicit in it. Because according to her, they just did it for her. They applied for her. That she didn't know. But of course, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. I was reading on social media, on Facebook, some APC aficionados, those that
I don't want to
support,
of course,
that support a
possible.
particular political party.
Yeah.
On Facebook, two of them, I won't mention their names. One of them said, oh, she didn't know about it. She became a Nigerian at the age of 34. So much ignorance. So much ignorance. That she became a Nigerian at the age of 34 because that was when she applied for international passport. Look, if you are a Nigerian by birth, you are a Nigerian from the day you were born. If your parents were Nigerians, even if you were born in India, in Moscow, you are a Nigerian that same day. Okay. The day you apply for international passport is immaterial. I applied for international passport at the age of 33. So you didn't know I was not a Nigerian before that time?
But you were born in Nigeria.
She
was born abroad. She was born abroad.
She was born abroad by Nigerian parents.
Okay.
So if you were born anywhere by Nigerian parents, you are a Nigerian. That is there in the Constitution. You are a Nigerian. So when you applied for a passport, is immaterial. So what she should have done was to come and serve Nigeria. You know other countries, in South Korea, North Korea, all those places, Japan, once they are 21, anywhere they are in the world, they will go for compulsory military service. The National Youth Service Corps is our compulsory military service in Nigeria. And even those that say should be scrapped, it doesn't make sense. If not for the NYSC, I would not have known where Bodija is in Sokoto. I would have known anything about Sokoto. But today I love Sokoto. I love the people of Sokoto. Sokoto is like my second home. Why? Because I served in that place and I saw how good these people were to me. When I was leaving Sokoto, some of them were crying. I was nice to them, they were nice to me. So the NYSC has come to stay. And if you are supposed to serve in the youth service, you come and do it for the love of country. And if maybe when you qualify to serve, you are beyond that age, then you apply for exemption. If you are within that age, then you go and serve. Okay. So you cannot come and reap the fruit of the country when you have failed to serve the country. So Kenya Adeosun, as far as I'm concerned, should refund all the monies, all the allowances, all the salaries she collected as commissioner in Ogun State, she collected as minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. She should refund everything.
What about the services rendered by her within this period?
Null and void.
Null and void.
Yes, null and void. Because you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. It will not stand. And she should face a day in court and go to jail for a crime.
Even when that has not been proven.
Yeah, but that's why I said she should go to court. So the government, if the government fails, then we will go to account. And it will be a campaign issue, we'll bring it up. Buhari, you say you are a man of discipline. Buhari, you say you are a man of integrity.
Let's pause it there.
Yes,
let's pause it there. Okay. There's a question I asked, which is that we need to exhaust the layers of complicity in this whole certificate NYSC stuff. We talked about Osun State.
Yes.
All right, where she served
Ogun State,
where she served as a commissioner,
commissioner of finance,
before becoming minister of finance. Yes. You said at that level there was some level of complicity.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So let's come to the National Assembly.
Yes.
Has this, in your opinion, brought to the fore some level of negligence in the screening process?
I think the National Assembly, they rely on reports from the DSS, from the EFCC, from the police and other security apparatus.
Okay.
So they rely on the report that they make. The Senate, or the National Assembly, does not have its own mechanism for verifying credentials brought before them. They rely on, because the DSS does not work for only the presidency, the EFCC, or the police. No, they work for Nigeria. So I cannot blame the National Assembly. I can only blame the DSS and even the NYSC for failing to notify the National Assembly, and she was cleared as a result of their incomplete or incompetent report.
So you're exonerating the National Assembly.
Yes, exactly.
That's what it means.
Where I point my fingers at is the DSS, is the NYSC, and the police, and of course the presidency, because the presidency controls the DSS, the police, and the NYSC.
Okay.
And these people, of course, this one has happened.
Yeah.
Nobody has been fired in the DSS. Nobody has been fired in the police. Nobody has been fired in the NYSC. It is just business as usual. We just move on.
Well, we can't say it's business as usual.
That's what is happening.
Why don't you wait? You're jumping the gun. You're being presumptuous.
But the woman has fled.
The woman has fled. What is your authority on that?
According to reports.
And so let's leave it at that, because there is no statement from the government of the day as to the whereabouts of that woman. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that.
Okay, right.
Okay. Now let's look at something quite interesting about this, which is that it was an investigative journalist that brought this to the fore.
Yes.
I was reading online yesterday that it took the guy about 6 months to be able to unravel this whole issue that has cost the minister her job. Yes, what do you make
I'm
of this?
happy. That is what it should be. My father was a journalist. In his days, he was a renowned journalist, an editor at that time with the Nigerian Observer. And I used to wake up and see him do a lot of research at night, write and all of that, do investigative journalism and all of that. I was interested in journalism. If I didn't become a lawyer, would I be a journalist? Even now, I still do some form of journalism in one way or the other.
Citizen journalism.
Yes, especially on social media. So it is nice, it's kudos to them. Though I won't embrace Nigerian journalists, but because it's the situation they find themselves. But today, we see a lot of envelope journalism, going on. They collect money from politicians to write good things about them. Journalists are the fourth estate of the realm. They ought to put the government to task. They ought to be a watchdog of the society, making sure that the morals that keep society sacred are kept sacred. But today, a lot of them are not doing it. But kudos to that journalist in premium times. Sarah reporters used to do it, but for some time now, they've not been as forthcoming as they used to be. But I want to encourage other journalists, do not be afraid. You owe a duty to your conscience, you owe a duty to your God, and you owe a duty to your society to do this type of investigative journalism and bring to the fore immorality or underhand behaviors or practices by public officers. Okay. Because a lot of people who hold public position do not quite understand the position of trust that they hold that is extremely sacred. If they are in the place of God in the affairs of men, and they ought to be above board to a very large extent. And it is journalists that can help them do that. We see what happens in the developed world, in the US, in the UK. We see what journalists do. Even when some citizens are like 80 years or 90 years, journalists are still able to unravel what they did many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And they apologize. And people learn from that. And the balance of the society is, appropriately, kept. So I encourage more journalists to go to do investigative journalism and bring to the fore, some of the hitherto hidden.
I'd like to take you back to an issue that I raised some few minutes back.
Yes.
When I was saying that in time past, what has happened would have been swept under the carpet. I wasn't really political in my statement.
Yeah, I know you.
No, I wasn't political in my statement. But what I was trying to raise is that there is this culture of impunity in Nigeria, which means that once a particular pattern has been established, it continues unabated.
Yes.
Is there any lesson for people seeking elective position to learn from this particular story?
Huge lesson.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was driving at then. Yeah.
A friend of mine on Facebook, she lives in the UK. She was writing yesterday that with what just happened, that she remembered that about 2 years ago, she told somebody to help her do a document in Nigeria, and now she's afraid. Let me tell you something. I tell people that it is proper enforcement of law that brings order to a society. That was why Lady Justicia, when you see that symbol of justice, that is blindfolded. You don't see anything. You don't see anybody. People come to you and you dispense justice. Now, if that was the case in Nigeria, I'm telling you, this country would have been on a proper path of order and economic emancipation and economic glory. If we do this, if we are able to enforce law without looking at faces, if we are able to do what is right in the public domain, you will see that people will be kept in check. People will be kept in check. People will be scared of doing the wrong thing, because when they do the wrong thing, they will face the music. There are repercussions for doing the wrong thing. For instance, let me quickly go there. I know that there's no other person from the other side that is here, but I need to point this out. For instance, our president, was accused of not having his wife's certificate. And the man quickly went to court. And he took about 13 senior advocates of Nigeria and 26 other senior lawyers to go to court. Barack Obama was accused of not being born in America. Donald Trump, the current president of America, said Barack Obama was born in Indonesia. Barack Obama did not go to court. He did not hire senior lawyers. He just brought out his certificate. This is my birth certificate. I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. So the president said he had a certificate. Bring the certificate. He said, oh, it is with the military board. Oh, it is with this. Oh, rat ate the certificate. This happened. If you are president, you must show example. So if you are shown example, say, okay, I'm sorry, I don't have a certificate. In fact, the truth is that it doesn't even need certificate. What this curriculum says is you must have education that is up to O level or is equivalent.
Just to make
military education, of course.
Yes. About
don't you need to rely on
the requirement to contest for the presidency. Did he have it? The academic requirement, the basic academic.
Of course, he have it. Yes. So but the point is, that's why will you say
that's a
you have the certificate when you didn't have, and you swore on that oath? The man also swore on that oath that it was missing. But the man never had the certificate, because at the time they were hiring them, taking them, most of these Fulani people from way up north, at the time they were being hired, they didn't really pass through some of these things that the Southerners went through. I don't know if you've read it, but they didn't really go through those rigors. Of course, he has had education in the military over time to give him that basic, because what the constitution wants is you should have basic awareness.
Okay.
Yes, a basic awareness. And of course, which he has as somebody who became a general in the army. But he didn't need to lie on that oath that he had an O-level certificate when he didn't have. So you should show example.
Okay, let's digress from that.
Yes.
And look at, because now the party primaries are here. A lot of aspirants are angling for one position or the other. And it looks like, as is always the case, if the political party goes for direct primaries,
Yes.
it means every member of the party will have a say. But if they go for indirect primaries, the delegates will have, and that comes to leadership. Let's talk to them. What are your thoughts
Actually,
in terms of what they should look at?
For me, I would have preferred direct primaries. Let every party member vote. But I don't think our political parties yet have the logistics.
To do direct primaries.
You know why? Because a lot of their members don't even have party cards. And sometimes they issue party cards, they don't have registered members. So they can give you a party card, you just write your name on it, they sign and all of that, but there's no register where the members are kept. So that will be subject to a lot of rigging, a lot of manipulations, because other aspirants will bring in people who are not even party members. You know, maybe
PDP, party members.
Yeah, maybe PDPs. Even the other party can even influence a candidate from the opposition party.
To emerge.
They should go and vote for a weaker candidate that can easily beat in the general election because there is no proper record kept, you know, for members. So that's why for now.
Is this not a shortcoming of the political parties?
Of course it is. Our political parties are not strong. They are not strong. If our political parties were strong, our democracy would have been much stronger than this. But our political parties are weak because they are formed on ad hoc arrangement. Ad hoc, as in, let's just quickly do this and get power. And when they are there, the actors of this, the members of this party who are not in government, they don't even think of institutionalizing the political parties. But they enrich themselves. They build houses, they buy houses everywhere in the world. They don't care about building the political party platform that they used to come. For instance, do you know that the PDP does not have its own building? The PDP was in power for 16 years. The PDP has been on since 1998, does not have its own building as a national office. If I show you the PDP used to have a People's Democratic Institute. They should have a school where they teach people leadership, democracy, tenets of democracy, rule of law. People should go through that and probably even make it mandatory for you to have maybe 3 months course, 6 months course before you aspire for any position,
okay,
on their party platform.
Okay.
You know, it should be that. I mean, democracy will be built and it will be more firmly rooted. But our political parties are just ad hoc. The APC,
you know, you said they don't have a building. That's your party.
They don't even have its own building. They are still right.
Yeah, but there were talks some time ago about some monies donated to actualize that, which eventually went into
private hands. I was not a member of the party.
Yeah,
I became a member
of the
PDP. I became an active member of the PDP in late 2014, November or December.
Okay,
you know, that's by the side.
That's by the way.
The political parties should first of all, if they are strong, our democracy will be much stronger than it is now because they are weak. That's why our democracy is weak. Our democracy is still, we still call it nascent democracy. Even when this republic started in 1999, which is it 19 years now? Yes, 19 years. This democracy is 19 years.
Yeah.
And we still call it nascent. We still keep making elementary mistakes, unforced error. It shouldn't be so. For me, I believe in loyalty to a political party, but I also believe in, you know, building that political party, the political party platform.
Okay.
I remember the PDP, you know, I don't hide it, but I feel that it is even important for my party to be well rooted, to be well built, well established. Much more, I desire that, much more than for you to seize power. Build yourself, work on yourself, be strong. Then you present yourself to Nigerians. Nigerians will see the quality of candidates that you present.
You said a while ago that you, on your own, you prefer direct primaries, but because the parties are weak,
they are weak.
Logistics around there can be exploited.
Yes.
And for that reason, you prefer indirect primaries.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what should party leaders be looking at in aspirants?
But yes, they should look at track record. What have you done before? Politics is a means of getting into government. And when you are in government, you are able to influence policies and programs and projects. Yes. But there are people who just go into politics as a means to an end, to enrich themselves. You must look at this person. Yes, you are coming. What have you been doing? What business were you doing? What work were you doing? Where were you working before? How have you been able to emancipate yourself? These are the things that political parties should look at. I've been PDP now. I've not aspired to contest for any position. Because for me, I believe that I'm still a work in progress. So these are the things the political parties should look at. Then they should look at, of course, loyalty to the party and loyalty to the society. Then they should look at if the person actually share that belief. Because there are some people who will move from one party to the other. If they don't get the ticket in this party, they quickly run to the other party. If they don't get it, they quickly run to the other party, and it goes on and on. For me, that is shameful. It is disgraceful. Of course, if you move, you can check political party on matter of principle and ideology, what you believe in. And maybe the other party that you are in, is no more tenable for you. It's no more conducive for you. And there are a lot of people, I must tell you, in politics, a lot of people will fight you, especially when you constantly speak truth to power. So they're always fighting you. You're able to make a headway. You feel that your ideas, the things that you propound, are not well received over time. Yeah. And the other party is making overshots to you. Yeah. And you feel that, of course, when you speak, they will listen and they will start implementing the things that you want. Maybe you can also go there. Yes.
Okay. It's also been reported several times that indirect primaries is subject to easy manipulation by the money bags in the political parties. What do you make of that as a challenge?
I agree.
Particularly against Bible, we've had this history.
I agree, but if you do indirect primaries, now in the two major political parties, the people who can vote are mostly the executives, ward executives, local government area executives, state executives. Like in PDP, you have three leaders from the world voting. You have people who have held positions before voting. That's why if political parties want to make sure that people are not easily manipulated by offer of money and all of that, then they should make sure that the people that occupy executive positions or leadership positions in that party are people who have integrity, people who have conquered hunger. I mean, I don't want to go into that, but you have 4 stages, Maslow theory. You have 4 stages, but the first one is if you have food. If you have conquered hunger, people have conquered hunger. If you have conquered hunger, I would see it as very insulting for somebody to offer me any money to support anybody. Any money. I'm not even saying 100,000 or 1 million. Any money. 1 billion, anything. Because if you can accept 1 billion, then you can also accept 10,000 naira. You can accept 5,000 because it's at the level of different persons. For instance, if I believe, people who know me know that when I believe in something, when I believe in somebody, when I believe in an idea, I'm unwavering. And they see me sometimes as rigid. It is not rigidity. It's just the fact that this is what I believe in.
So how do you think
it's hard for me to change?
The leaders can do the needful by ensuring only the right candidates emerge in the face of a strong temptation of money?
Well, yes, there are ways.
Because now they say that this is the period that party leaders
they make money.
They build new houses, marry new wives, buy new cars, and then maybe travel abroad for holidays.
They take money upfront, millions. Upfront, they tell you, don't worry, we'll deliver you. And there are some leaders, they will go all out, including killing or destroying other people, just to make sure they deliver the candidate who has already given them money. I mean, somebody comes, he's going for House of Assembly, and you tell him, if you give me 10 million, it's all well and good, you will get the ticket. And he brings 10 million. And you are trying to converse to people who feel are loyal to you, and they are not buying it because they heard that you collected money and you are not sending it to them. They are not sharing with them. So they don't start supporting another aspirant. So you don't do everything you can. You bring down the house, you bring down the roof to make sure you deliver your candidate. And that is what is wrong. But more and more, our people are getting more and more politically educated to say, look, I will take my destiny in my own hands, I must fight for myself. But the system, as I said before, is far from being perfect. So it is hard to get credible persons through the system. But the leadership of the party, maybe at state level, sometimes, because even the constitution of the party is also prescribed for consensus candidate. Sometimes they will go and talk to the aspirants. So look, and if sometimes you see the body language of the leadership of the party, sometimes If you feel you're a loyal party person, you just look at the body language and you say, okay, maybe they have a reason for preferring so and so candidate, maybe you step down. But you can decide to also contest the primary election. Okay. Because, I mean, when you have more than one person belonging to an organization, they all have equal stake and they all should be allowed to test their popularity within the political party. And, you know, if consensus fails, then they should go to the field and contest the primary election. So if they decide that, if the commission says indirect primaries can also be allowed, then I will advise that the party should go for indirect.
We usually have a fallout of primaries, which is that people start jumping ship.
Yes, you know, I noticed that, let me tell you something, Nigerians are bad losers. We are not good sportsmen.
Can't we say some Nigerians?
No, many Nigerians. If I say Nigerians, not all.
No, let's say some Nigerians.
No, many.
No, some.
No, some, many.
Let's some.
No, I've seen it.
Okay, are you part of the many?
No, I'm not.
So say some.
No,
let's
I'm part of...
let's say some.
No, but I'm part of some of Nigerians who are not bad losers. I tell people that there are some people, they're not ready for an elective position. They print posters, they come out on social media, they say they are contesting for, say, governor or president, or they say they are contesting for House of Representative or Senate. But if you see them, you know that this person is not ready.
It's not serious.
He cannot win an election. It's not serious. Then later, some of them will collect money from people, they'll support them and all that. People are going to say, well, due to this and that, I can't contest anymore. I say, I will not do that. Every time you see me, that I say I'm going for a particular position, know that I'm serious about it. Okay. I will not come out to monkey around. I will not play around. I'll be serious about it. So, but there are some Nigerians, from the word go, they're not serious about a particular position. They know that they cannot win it. They know they cannot get it, but they just want to try. And no matter how free and fair the contest is, they will still complain. And the other party can come and offer them things, and they will take it. Okay. Because for our people, it's just, for some of our people, it's just the end justifies the means. Okay. For instance, like if you cast your mind back, I don't know if you were familiar with the PDP primaries of 2016. There were 4 aspirants, at the time 5, then it became 4 aspirants. And, you know, even the election was free and fair. People said, oh, some leaders, their body language, their followers looked at their body language and they voted a particular aspirant. For that reason, they rigged it. How can you rig it? If I'm in a party, for instance, this primary is coming up in PDP, I mean, whether you like it or not, I still have some people who I can tell vote for this person and they will vote. So can't I even tell them openly? I can tell them. So this is my candidate, this person I support. And for this and so reason.
But before you come to the field, one should have expected that all of that would have been done back.
No, it is done. A day to. Sometimes that money. Okay, so when they are going to the field to vote, they already know who they will vote for.
Let's look at another aspect of this whole primary thing, which is the influence of the party leadership. What some call them the godfathers, who decide the fates of aspirants. Yes. What do you make of this? Is part of what you just raised.
Yes. Quite honestly, there's no country in the world where you don't have godfathers, political godfathers. There's no country in the world.
So why people complain about godfathers?
Because Nigerians are bad losers. If the godfathers,
some Nigerians are bad losers.
Yeah, where some Nigerians are bad losers. Okay. Now, if you look at the American, if you look at American politics, you see that there are also godfathers. In fact, it's even institutionalized. They call it, they have different caucuses. Institutionalized. It is recognized. And they will say, if this one supports this aspirant, he will win. So let's just wait and see who is supporting. And that person will win. It has been like that for years. It's like that in the UK. It's like that in Australia. So there are people who are strong enough to influence election.
In the build up to the election now, particularly with the primaries, what you hear is that, oh, this person, they not give this person.
Yes,
they give this person.
Yes. That's what I was saying that.
Yes.
You know, a lot of us in this country are bad losers. Because we just feel, okay, now when we're in primary school or in secondary school, they will say, what do you carry? Say, now fifth they give me, oh. Now fourth they give me, oh. But if it came out first, they will say, I carry first. If you never say, now first they give me, you say, I carry second. So we just want to blame other people. And we don't even want to accept that, oh, for these people, I mean, cast your mind back again to 2016 PDP primaries. Among the 4 aspirants, everybody could see that there was a particular one that stood out. There's a particular one that was stronger than the others. A lot stronger than the others. It was clear. So when people were murmuring and complaining, just wonder why. What have you shown? What structure do you have? What report do you have to deliver you in this election? And you are complaining. And before you know it, you decamp to the other party. You know? So we must build our democracy on integrity. A lot of people who don't have integrity, they say they have integrity. But when the ships are down, you will see that there's no integrity. You know? So for me, as I've said before, and when I was joining politics, I told them, I said I will not eat of the food from the king's table. What does it mean? I will not do what others are doing. I'm going to be a light in the political firmament. That we must continue, or we must begin to build a new righteous order of political leadership that is anchored on integrity, that is anchored on righteousness, that is anchored on character and competence. What I cannot do, as I am now, I will tell you something. And many times it has happened. They will say, Dan, we're going to do this. I say, I don't think I can do this. But I think this person can do it better than me. And sometimes they are shocked. I say, they are shocked. But that is the truth. Okay. So what can I do? A position I cannot take, I will not be able to handle. I will just tell you straight away that I don't think at this time
I'll be able to do
this. Maybe later, but this I don't think I can do this. But I can do this very well.
Okay.
So that is it. That is it.
Thank you.
That it should be.
Thank you very much, Pastor Daniel Ogbege, for your time with me on the show today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate.
Very eventful and exciting. Thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's our show today. On behalf of the entire crew members, I'm Sonny Jikokoson. Thank you for staying with us. Wishing you a great week ahead. Bye for now.